Welcome to Evolving Into Her. I'm Ashlee Hope, and this is your weekly check-in to get out of your head, into your body, and back into alignment with the version of you who's already living the vision. So grab your favorite cup of tea, settle in, and let's get into the show. Hey there, welcome back to Evolving Into Her. This is the podcast for the woman who's building a life that actually feels as good as it looks. I'm your host, Ashlee Hope, and today we are closing out the Detached and Magnetic Woman series with part 4. And I've been looking forward to this one. If you haven't listened to parts 1, 2, and 3 yet, go back and start there. Okay, we've covered non-attachment in love and how the detached and magnetic woman moves inside of a relationship and how she relates to money. And so today we're going to tie it all together. I could really talk about non-attachment forever, but this episode is for the woman who's done the work. She's healed, she's grown, she's built, she's prayed, she's affirmed, she's shown up consistently and done everything she knows to do. She's met God halfway and she's still waiting. And the waiting is starting to feel like evidence that something is wrong, that she missed something, that it's not coming, that maybe God didn't hear her, or that God forgot about her. So this episode is about that woman. And basically, this episode really speaks to how I practice non-attachment in every area of my life. Again, I could speak on non-attachment forever. We could have an entire podcast about non-attachment, all right? But hopefully this helps you in your journey. So friend, grab something you can sip slow and let's get into the show. All right, so we're covering 4 shifts today, 4 ways the detached and magnetic woman practices non-attachment or healthy detachment, whatever you want to call it. But it's really about releasing her attachment to expectations, to outcomes, to timing, and to the why. Per usual, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. And before we get into it, I just want to make this clear. This is not a faith-based podcast. But baby, y'all can tell, y'all know I am a faith-based person, okay? And you're going to hear that in the way that I speak, the way I share, how I move through the world, my ideologies. Just know I'm not here to push anything or press anything upon you. You believe what you believe, and I respect that fully. But just know here I'm open and honest about my faith, and I'm very proud of it. So I share it on this platform in a way that I share everything else, openly, with integrity, and without apology. So however you receive what I share today, whether it's through the lens of faith, whether it's through the lens of alignment, through whatever framework makes sense for your life, I trust you to take what serves you and leave what doesn't. Okay. So shift number 1. The detached and magnetic woman and how she practices non-attachment or healthy detachment. She detaches from the timeline. And this one is so deeply personal for me because I've had to come back to it over and over again across every area of my life. So before we start, let me illustrate what attachment to your timeline could look like. You've got a picture in your head how your life is supposed to unfold. By this age, by this year, by this point in my journey, this thing is supposed to have arrived, whether it's the relationship, the business milestone, the baby, the house, the next level, the breakthrough. And when it doesn't show up on your schedule, on your timing, something in you starts to shift. You start questioning your choices. You start questioning your path. Some of y'all may even start questioning your worthiness. And you start wondering if you missed a turn somewhere, right? If you did something wrong, if the vision you've been carrying is actually real. And I'm just going to say this plainly, and I'm going to hold your hand and hug you when I say this. You invented that timeline. It was you. And I will say, have some grace for yourself because there's so much pressure from the outside world on women and what their lives should look like by this time, by this age, what you should have, what you should have acquired, what you should have achieved, accomplished, all the things. So that timeline came from comparison. from what your friends are doing, what you're seeing on social media. It came from societal pressure, unspoken or not. It came from watching other people's highlight reels and deciding that their pace was the pace you were supposed to be on. And you've been measuring your life against this clock, against this timeline that was never yours to begin with. So, y'all know I personally believe in divine timing and divine order. I really believe that what's for me will not miss me, that God's delays aren't God's denials. All of those phrases that sound cliche and that a lot of us have heard growing up, they've really programmed my mind to really believe that. I really believe that for myself. And I'm grateful for that because it has grounded me in my life, especially in the seasons where nothing was moving the way that I thought it should. So, whatever you believe, I think most of us can agree on this, okay? Life has its own order. And fighting that order, trying to control that order and that timing, demanding that things arrive on your schedule when you want them, when you deem fit, that's one of the most fastest ways to rob yourself of your peace. So, the detached and magnetic woman, she releases the timeline entirely. And she stops measuring her life against a schedule that she created in her head. And she starts trusting that things are unfolding in an order that she can't always see, but she can learn to trust, right? The vision is still alive. The goals are still there. The aspirations can still be there. You can still have the desires, but she knows that the order is already set. The timing is already set. She knows she's not behind. She can't be behind in her own life, in her own journey. She knows she's exactly where she's supposed to be. She's exactly where she needs to be, even if she doesn't understand it. So she has released the timeline, and in releasing it, she got her peace back. And shift number 2 of the detached and magnetic woman and how she practices non-attachment in her day-to-day life. Hey, I hope you're enjoying this episode, but I want to pull back just for a second to tell you about something I'm hosting this month. And I genuinely feel like whoever is listening to this right now really needs to hear this. Every month this summer, I'll be hosting a live nervous system healing activation called Relaxed and Regulated. And this month, we're going straight into scarcity. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about the way scarcity shows up in your body before it ever shows up in your bank account. The way you say yes when you mean no because you're afraid the opportunity won't come again. The way you overwork because resting feels dangerous. The way you give and give and give and then wonder why you feel so empty. The way you finally get something you wanted and you immediately start waiting for it to disappear, waiting for the other shoe to drop. That is scarcity living in your nervous system. And as you know, mindset work alone will not touch it. It will not change it because it's not just a thought. It's a frequency your body has been running and probably for a long time. So on June 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, I'm going to guide you live beneath the thinking mind, the conscious mind, the critical mind, and into the place where that pattern actually lives in your subconscious mind. And we are moving it out. We're not just going to be talking about it. We are doing the work to clear it. Grab your spot in the show notes or visit me at www.ashleehope.co, and I will see you on June 25th. Now back to the episode. Shift number 2 is that she detaches from the outcome looking a certain way. And this one is sneaky. I had to cover this one because it doesn't always feel like attachment. It feels like you have a vision. It feels like clarity. It feels like knowing what you want. And there's nothing wrong with having a vision and having this really clear picture of what you're calling in is powerful. Specificity can be powerful. But the attachment comes when you become so locked into the specific form of the thing that you can't receive what's actually being offered. And here's what I mean. So you've got a vision of what, a divine partnership, a healthy relationship should look like, what your husband should look like, the specific type of person, the specific way it's supposed to unfold, the timing, the timeline of how it progresses. You've got a vision of what business should look like, the specific revenue number, the income, the specific audience size, the specific way the offers land. And when things start showing up in a form that you didn't expect, you dismiss them. If they didn't show up in the packaging you thought it would show up in, you dismiss it. You overlook them. And you start holding out for the version that you created because you're convinced that's the only way it can be right. That's the only way it'll be aligned for you if it comes in that exact package as you envision that it would, in the exact way. And sister, in doing that, you can miss what's actually being offered to you. So remember, we talked about this concept of open hands. In that moment, when you're so attached to the outcomes, baby, your hands are closed. God can't put the new thing, the new experience, the new person, the new relationship, the new opportunity, the blessing, the breakthrough in closed hands. Okay? So when it comes to the outcome, non-attachment here means staying open to the thing, arriving in a form that you didn't plan, but that's actually perfect for where you are in your life in this season. Okay? Again, it means holding the vision with an open hand, knowing what you want and being flexible about how it shows up, trusting that what's aligned for you, what's meant for you, it might look different than what you imagine. And that difference doesn't mean that it's wrong. It doesn't mean it's not aligned. It doesn't mean it's not for you. It doesn't mean that you're settling. And trust me, I've lived this. There have been things in my life, in my business, in my relationships that didn't come to me, that didn't arrive the way I pictured them. And baby, I'm going to tell you, they were better. They were more aligned. And they changed the trajectory of my life. They put me on a completely different timeline, a timeline I never even considered for myself before, that I couldn't have fathomed for myself, that I did not even know was possible for me. And a recurring theme of this podcast is that God's vision for our lives 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10 is so much greater than the vision we have for ourselves. But baby, you have to move with the posture of openness, right? An open mind, open heart, open hands, open to receiving. And I truly believe that sometimes what we're asking for and what we actually need are two different things. And life has a way of giving us what we need, even when it doesn't look like what we asked for. So the Detached and Magnetic Woman, she has released the picture. She has released the script. She has released the attachment to the outcome. She has released the idea that what she wants, what she desires, what she deserves has to come in this very specific, unique package. And as a result, what arrives, what she receives, what she's made herself available for is so much better than what she planned, so much better than what she prayed for, what she journaled for, what she visioned for herself. And shift number 3, she detaches from needing to understand why. And we've talked about this in a previous podcast episode. If I remember what episode number it is, because baby, we at number 74, I think. So I'm definitely at a point where I can't recall off the top of my head what episode number we talked about something. But if I can find it, I'll link it in the show notes. But this is one of the places I believe that women hold the hardest, where you grip and control the hardest. And actually, it's not just women. Most people, humans do this, but my podcast is for the ladies. Okay, so I'm speaking to the ladies. But this is one of the areas where we grip the hardest, where we experience the most control. And I get it, because the why feels like it should give you closure. Like if you just understood why this didn't work, why that person left, why they treated you this way, why that door closed, why it's taken this long, then maybe you could finally move on. Like you get some closure there. You could finally make peace with it. But baby, what I've learned in my own life, the why doesn't always come on your timeline either. I know y'all don't want to hear that. I know that's the last thing you want to hear. But in my own experience, I know I've wasted too much time ruminating over the why, and when you do that, you spend so much focus and time and energy almost demanding an explanation from life. When you do that, it creates this energetic tie that keeps you tethered, keeps you kind of anchored, attached to the past. instead of focusing on where your feet are, being in the present moment, and focusing on the trajectory of your life, where you're going, where God is calling you to, right? It kind of keeps you chained to the experience, chained to the person. Why did that relationship end the way it did? Why didn't that launch convert? Why did that door close when it felt like it was about to open? Why is this taking so long when I've been so faithful to the work? It's going to sound different for everyone who is listening to this, but in some way, shape, form, or fashion, we've all experienced this. And this is where my faith comes in. I believe that every closed door was protection, every delay was preparation in some way. And every no was a redirect towards something better or something more aligned. And I know that's not always easy to receive when you're in the middle of it. That's the last thing you want to hear. I get it. When the door just closed and it stings, that's the last thing you want to hear. When the answer still hasn't come and you're exhausted from waiting, you're probably rolling your eyes listening to me. It's okay. I still love you. I've been there. But what carried me through every single time was the decision. Notice I said decision. You have to decide to trust the process, even when you don't see the point of it. You don't have to make sense of it, right? So releasing the why. So the detached and magnetic woman, she makes peace with not always having the answer. And I know that may make your chest a little tight. Like, how? How? You want to figure out the how, right? She doesn't need to understand every plot twist to trust the story, to trust herself, to trust that life is working for her, to trust God and God's plans for her. She survived every hard season thus far, every single one. And that is enough evidence to know that she is going to be okay. So she released the why, and in releasing the why, she found her way forward. Okay, that's shift number 3. And now the final shift, shift number 4. She detaches from the how. And this is where magnetism closes the series. This one is the full surrender. And I say that because detaching from the timeline, the outcome, and the why, those are all hard in practice. But the how is where deep control lives, especially for the type A, high achieving woman that listens to this podcast. The how is where the strategist in you, the planner in you, who is the strong friend, who may be the eldest daughter, the woman who has figured out everything on her own for so long. This is where she tends to hold the tightest. And so here's what attachment to the how looks like in real life. Let's say you know what you want, you've prayed about it, you set the intention, you've done the inner work, and yet you've also decided, consciously or not, exactly how it has to happen. The specific steps, the specific sequence, the specific person who has to say yes, the specific door that has to open, the specific way the path has to unfold for the thing to be real. And when it doesn't move in that direction, in the way you envisioned, the way you planned, you panic and you second guess and you try to force it back into the path you mapped out because you cannot see how it could possibly work anyway. And that's attachment to the how. And it'll exhaust you every single time, girl. Baby, I got tired just from explaining it to you. Okay, we about to wrap this up. But what I've learned throughout my years of work and just experiencing life, being a student of life, the how is not your job, baby. Your job is the intention, okay? Your job is the alignment. Your job is the aligned action, the meeting God halfway, the obedience, and the release. The how belongs to something bigger than your strategy, okay? And again, I'm going to tell you, I've watched things come together in my life in ways I never could have planned, ways I would have blocked if I'd stayed locked into my own version of the path. So the detached and magnetic woman, she does the work and then she gets out of her own way. She takes aligned action, but then she releases the past. She releases her control on exactly how it has to unfold, how it has to happen. So she stays open to the unexpected yes, the unexpected door, the unexpected opportunities, the unexpected sequence of events that her controlling energy would have missed entirely. And she trusts that there's more than one way for the thing, the experience, the person, the breakthrough, the blessing to arrive. And she doesn't have to figure out which one. That is not her job. And this is why this makes her magnetic. The woman who is not contracted around the how, who is not forcing and managing and controlling and manipulating the path, baby, she is free. She moves with ease. She creates from inspiration. She shows up with her hands open. She has an open heart. She has an open spirit. She has an open mind. She's open to receive. Her fists aren't closed. And that open, free, trusting energy is magnetic. It's what draws everything to her. Even in just hearing that, you could feel that energy, right? And that magnetic energy is what makes people want to be around her, to work with her, love her, invest in her, support her. So she does not control the path. She walks it. She trusts it. She releases it. And she stays open to the miracle of how it actually unfolds. That is the how. And that is the final shift of how to practice non-attachment like the detached and magnetic woman. That is the detached and magnetic woman in every area of her life. All right, friends, so let's bring it all together. The detached and magnetic woman has made 4 shifts that have changed everything about how she moves through life. She released a timeline. She stopped measuring her life against this arbitrary clock that she invented, and she started trusting that things are unfolding in divine timing, in divine order, in perfect order. She released her attachment to outcomes and things looking a very specific way and her expectations. And she stays open to the thing, the relationship, the experience arriving in a package that she didn't envision for herself. And she found that what showed up ended up being better than what she planned anyway. And she released the why. Okay. And she made peace with not understanding every closed door. That's not her business. And she learned to trust that the path was working even when it didn't look like it. And she released the how. She stopped trying to control the path, control the how, control how it unfolded. And she started trusting that there's more than one way for the thing, the experience, the relationship, the breakthrough, the blessing to arrive. And with that being said, friends, this is a wrap on the Detached and Magnetic Woman series. I hope it's giving you some inspiration and some insights and some practical tools on how to practice non-attachment or healthy detachment, whatever you want to call it, tomatoes. I hope it gives you something to work with as you navigate non-attachment or healthy detachment in your own life. If you haven't already, please rate or review the show on Spotify or Apple. It helps the show so much, especially as we enter year 2 of the show. Per usual, thank you for spending your Tuesday with me. My name is Ashlee Hope, and until next time, stay in devotion to your becoming.